So you should see my Canvas dashboard here. So welcome. This is going to be a workshop on Canvas grading and assignments in the gradebook mostly, and also talking a little bit about Canvas discussions. So what I'll do is I'll take you through the process of creating a Canvas gradebook using assignments, and go into actually creating an assignment, having a student submit that assignment, giving feedback on the assignment, and giving seeing how that assignment looks in the gradebook from the instructor point of view. So I'll kind of take you through the whole process. It's very beneficial also to see how it looks from a student point of view. So I'm going to definitely show you that to see how it kind of all fits together and it kind of works. Okay. All right. So I'm here on my Canvas dashboard. So I'm going to go into my Canvas course.
Greg, did you want everyone to mute and use chat?
Yes, good point, Jill. So we're going to go ahead and if you have questions during the session, go ahead and type those in the chat window. And as those come in, Jill will be our moderator. Jill Ballard will be our moderator, and she'll kind of take those questions and bubble them up to the main session and ask me in person if it's pertaining to what I'm talking to. So she'll kind of manage those questions there. Okay. All right. And as you come in, please mute your microphone. Like I said, we'll get the majority of the questions through the chat window. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So what I've done is I'm gone to my course here, and I'm going to go ahead and click the assignments area. So when I click on assignments, I'm taken to what I see here is basically called an assignment group. And this is where the area where I actually mostly create assignments. So over here, you'll see the add assignment button. And that's how I create a new assignment. So before we go any further, just to kind of summarize how this all kind of works. Assignments are what you use in Canvas when you want to collect work from your students, or if you want to give assessment and feedback on their work. There's basically two types of assignments. There's a online assignment. So this is an assignment you create in Canvas. You configure it to accept materials electronically through Canvas. So a lot of times students will upload a file, like a PDF, a Word document, or even like a video file, and attach it to their assignment submission. You'll be able to see that submission in Canvas and give it grading and give feedback. The other type of assignment is going to be an on paper, or they call it a no submission assignment. So you use this if you previously accepted work from students, and maybe it's a physical hard copy paper they turned in online, or maybe it's an in-class presentation where they made a presentation to the class and you noted that, but you want to have that in Canvas alongside your online assignment submissions. So they're all kind of in one place. So that type of assignment is going to be an on-paper assignment. There's nothing for students to submit electronically through Canvas. You'll just mark them and give them a grade in Canvas manually. Okay, so I'm going to create both of those types of assignments so you can see how that looks. So creating the online assignment, I go to in the assignments area and I click add assignment. And what I'll see is some areas where I can actually configure and give some parameters of my assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and give this assignment a name. This is going to be term paper. In this area here, I'm going to give the details of the assignment, what students need to do, what I'm expecting, etc. So notice here, I can actually link and embed and put in certain assets and materials that pertain to this assignment. So if I go over to the files area, This is going to show me files I previously uploaded to my course. So if I previously uploaded some files, I can go ahead and grab those here and attach them directly to the assignment. If I have a link to a website, make a little wording here and use this link URL to link directly to that website. So copy and paste that URL, put it here. Let's put it in something for right now. And students would have that resource directly in the assignment here. Okay. So I scroll down a little bit. I'm going to determine how many points this is going to be worth. So this is a pretty big assignment. So let's say it's worth 100 points. I'm going to scroll down here to submission type, and I'm going to change this from no submission to online. When I do that, I get a bunch of online entry options, and I can determine how I want to accept this paper online. So I'm going to do text entry and file uploads. I can also do media recordings where students can record something directly in Canvas or attach a media recording and that'll be attached to the assignment. I can also do website URL where if students have like an online portfolio or something, maybe they made some sort of portfolio or some web page, I want to see that directly, I can have that submit that as well directly. For now, I'm going to choose text entry and file uploads. If I need to use Turnitin to evaluate my student submissions, I can go ahead and click this Turnitin option under the plagiarism review drop-down box. And I'll get a slew of other configurations I can use for Turnitin. Okay, so usually these default settings are good enough. Okay. Once I do this, when students submit their paper, it'll run the submission directly to Turnitin and also return a originality report. Okay. All right. I'm going to put that back to none for right now. Okay. So if I scroll down to here, I'm going to go directly to the Assign To box. And right now, this course, this assignment is assigned to everyone in the course. So I'll just leave it as everyone for right now, but I can assign it to specific people if I want. The due date, this is going to determine when the assignment is going to be due. So let's say it's going to be due March 21st. It defaults to 11:59 p.m., but you can change that to any specific time if you want. So if students submit the assignment after this date, it'll be flagged in the Gradebook and system as being late, and you'll see it that it's late, and you can take the appropriate action if you want to dock points or whatever. Okay. This available from is the first day the students have to actually submit to the assignment and also see the details of the assignment. So if I put in a date here that's maybe before the due date, maybe a week before, students won't be able to submit to the assignment, and they won't be able to see any of these details up here that I put for the assignment. They'll simply see the assignment title, and it'll say the assignment is locked until that date. Okay. The until date is the last day they have to submit to the assignment. So this is the actual drop dead date. So after this date, there'll be no more submit button to physically submit their paper. So this can be the same exact date as your due date. In that case, after this date, you're not accepting any late papers. Okay. If you want to extend this out and say, hey, I'll accept late papers until the 25th, you can put in this date here. Or if you don't want to manage that at all, you can just leave it blank and just note when papers come in late and dock them accordingly. Okay. So I have a title, I have some description of the assignment, I have a point value, I have a way to submit the assignment, and I have a due date. So when I'm done, I'll go ahead and say save. And this is my assignment here. If I go back to my assignments list, I'll see that assignment has been created. I'm going to go ahead and publish it. Right now, it's not visible at all to my students, so I'm going to go ahead and publish it. Once I publish it, if I go back to the gradebook, I'll see that a column created for that assignment. Okay. So in this view of the gradebook over here under student name, I see a list of all the students that are in my course, and I see a column for each assignment, as well as a column for the assignment group. So notice I just have one assignment group called assignments. This kind of totals up the grades of the student within that particular assignment group. And over here, there's a total that keeps a running total of the grade for that student. Okay. So I repeat that process again and again for all the assignments that I want in my course, and they're totaled over here at the end of my gradebook. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my, I'm going to go back to my assignments list. You notice here I've created another assignment, homework 1. So I went through those same processes. If I go back and edit it, I made this a submission type of no submission. Okay, so this is just simply a place where I previously had a homework, some homework that I collected from students. It was a physical paper. I made the markups on the paper. I graded it. I just want to enter it into my gradebook. So this is a placeholder for those grades I'm going to enter. Okay. So these guys are ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and I have another browser open that has a student view. The student here is Yogi Bear. He's in my class. He's going to come into my class and he's going to click on assignments, or maybe my first page of my course has modules. So maybe I would have linked that assignments to the module here. But I'm going to go ahead and click on assignments. And I'll see the assignments that for the class that the instructor has published. They'll be in chronological order here. So I see that homework 1 paper and I see term paper 1. I'll go ahead and click on term paper 1. And I see the details of the assignment, when it's due, how many points it is, ways of submission, and any assets I need that pertain to that assignment. So over here is my submit assignment button. I'll go ahead and click on that. Notice here, I see the ways that I've configured file upload, text entry. There's also a Google Doc function that your students may or may not see. This is here, what it does is allows them to grab submissions instead of from their computer. They can get it from the Don's app Google Drive. So when they do this, they grab it here, they submit it. That submission is actually turned and converted to a Word doc. So as far as your end, you'll just see it as a regular submission and not like a Google Doc. So it'll be a static file, basically. Okay. So I'm going to go back over here and say file upload. And I'm going to say choose file. It's going to go to my computer and I'm going to grab my paper that I put together, say open, and that file is now linked to my assignment submission. I can add another file too if I have multiple files. I can leave a comment for the instructor. I say submit assignment. So as the student, Yogi Bear, I get this feedback here that it's been submitted and what time it's been submitted. Okay. If I go to grades from my student point of view, I see here term paper 1, and I see that there's a submission here. So the icon indicates there's a submission, and I'm just waiting for the grade from my instructor. I also see the other assignment here, as well as a total at the bottom here. That gives me a running total of a percentage of my points in the class. Okay. But let me go back to my instructor point of view. I'm logged into my Canvas course. I click on the home page. First thing I notice over here under to do is I see that paper assignment that I've given to my students, and I see a little 1 here. This is indicating that someone submitted to the assignment, in this case, Yogi Bear. So I can click on there to go to that assignment. I can click on my assignments list as well if I want to see that assignment. So over here, oops, wrong one. Term paper 1. I'll see that 0 of 1 submissions graded. So that's indicating that there's been something submitted. Also, if I go to the gradebook and I look at that assignment column again, I'll see an icon here indicating that the student has submitted something. Okay, so this gradebook view is just a quick way to scan and see which students have actually turned in the assignment or not. So let me go back to the assignment view here. Click on the assignment again. And instead of going directly to the gradebook to look at it, I'm going to look at something called a speed grader. So once I click on speed grader, I'll see the actual submission of a student, and the student's going to be listed over here in the upper right hand corner. There'll be a drop down box where I can see all my students, and this orange dot indicates that there's been a submission by that student. So here's the actual submission. Since it was a file upload, it shows me a snapshot of that file. If it had been a text entry would have shown a text entry is basically a way for students to write in to the assignment submission and attach links to websites and files. So I would have seen that submission here if it was a text entry assignment, but Yogi Bear decided to upload his assignment as a file. So I see that file here. Because it's a file, I can actually leave some feedback directly on the submission itself. So if I click up here, I have some annotation tools. So this is like a point annotation, similar to what you find in Microsoft Word. So that's a point annotation. This is a highlighting one. So I can highlight some text there or areas and leave a comment as well. When I'm done as well with this area, I can leave general comments. And submit that comment. And when I'm done with all that, I can finally give a grade. And that goes, this goes directly into the gradebook. Notice up here, here's a link to the actual file that was submitted. So what I can do is I can actually download this file if I want to open that in another program. Say this was a file that was submitted that is specific to a specific program like Adobe Illustrator, and I need to actually look at it in that particular application, I can do that. If I want to open up in Word and use track changes or tools in there, I can download this to my computer and make the changes. Later on down here, I can reattach any file back to the assignment here. So that's what this little attach file button is. If I want to leave a video or audio comment, I can click this. Let me go back here at this button here, and I can say start recording, record my webcam, or just my microphone, and that'll leave an audio comment here for students. So this might be good if you're teaching like a language class and you need to go over pronunciation. That might be good. Okay. Down here, if I'm on Google Chrome, there's a speech recognition tool where I click this and I can record. This was a great paper. Good job. And that'll leave that comment there. I can go back here and clean it up if I need to. Say submit. And all these submissions go directly to the student under his student submission. Okay. So if I go back to the gradebook here, I should now see an actual score here for the student. Let me go back to the student view, refresh this, term paper 1. Student will now see their score as well as any comments I gave him. Clicking on the paper itself, I'll go in and actually see those annotated feedback notes I put on the actual assignment. He'll have to go to the gradebook, click on the gradebook title, and click on view feedback. And here is where these comments lie. So I can make, I know this is kind of small here, but I believe there's a way where you can make it full screen as well. And you can actually download this annotated version as well. I believe you probably would need Adobe Acrobat Reader to read that. And you might have to turn on the comments as well, but download that annotated document. Okay. So that's kind of a 360 view of like an actual assignment and how you would give feedback and how students would see that feedback. Okay. Okay. Back to the gradebook. Are there any specific questions on that process?
Greg, we haven't had any questions at all so far, so
okay.
Stand by.
Okay. Okay. So what I'll do next is kind of, oh, is there a question? Let's see. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of a lot to take in. Okay. So here is the actual, so this is assignment here. Let's go back to the grades, gradebook. So as you create your assignment, oh, let me go back to my instructor point of view. So here again, here are my columns. Here is going to be the total of the grade so far. So notice here, Yogi Bear has submitted one assignment here and I've graded it. This assignment is worth 100 points. So he's got 99 out of 100. So his running total is 99 out of 100. Okay. He's not evaluated on this other assignment because he hasn't submitted it yet. Okay. Right. So suppose some things you might see as you're managing your gradebook. For the specific assignment itself here, if I click on this column here, settings, I have some more items here. Okay. So I can, as my assignments come in, and as I grade them, I can actually sort them by grades, low to high. I can actually message students who. So maybe it's getting bound down to the wire here, and this is maybe a couple of days or an hour or something before the assignment is due. I can message students who have not submitted yet. Canvas will automatically grab those people based on that criteria. There's some other ones that you can do too, haven't been graded, scored less than, scored more than. So this is another tool you have to kind of manage the submissions. Okay.
Greg,
yes.
One question. I don't believe this works, but a question about adding a rubric to a quiz.
A rubric to a quiz. Yeah, you can actually do that. You can actually add a rubric to a quiz. So We can see some documentation of how to do that. I think the rubric is going to be, I don't know if it's per question. It might be per question as you grade each question, but there's definitely a way to do that. So I can get some documentation on that afterwards. Okay. All right. So going back to this assignment column here, setting a default grade. So you would do this if you want to, if you have an assignment, maybe it's like a low stakes assignment, everybody's pretty much going to get a point, the same point value. You can say set default grade and do, 90 out of 100 or whatever it is, and say set default grade. And maybe you want to go back very quickly, and if you have 100 students and 99 get the same grade, you can set the default grade to 99, then change that one student who didn't get that same score. Kind of do it the reverse instead of doing one at a time. The other one that is going to be very useful is going to be a grading post policy. So in a previous version of the gradebook, there was something called mute grades, where you could turn off the notification and viewing of assignments. So that you would use this, say, if you wanted to not have students not see your grades or comments while you're actually doing them. For instance, if you had a term paper that really is going to take a long time to grade, you have a lot of students, you don't want to release those grades piecemeal one by one. By default, if you put in a grade and comments, students will usually get that comment, get a notification that there's a grade within a couple of minutes usually. So maybe you don't want to release those grades piecemeal. You want to do them at the end when all your grading is done. Maybe you change some grades. Maybe you just need time to grade everything and release it at once. So what you would do in that case is, I'm going to do it with this homework 1 paper. I would do it before you enter any grades or comments. Go here and say grading post policy. So the default grade post policy is automatically. So what this is saying is Canvas is automatically releasing grades as you enter them, grades and comments. You want to change this to manually. And this just says Canvas will manually, you're going to manually release these grades when you want to release them. Okay. So I'm going to click manually and say save. And at the top here, this status sets to manual. Okay. So what this means is any grades I enter in after this point, while it's still on manual, will be hidden from students. So if I go in here and put in some grades, as well as comments, oops. So I put in grades, I make comments, go to the speed grader or whatever. So I'm done. These grades look good. Maybe I had to go back and this guy really got a 10 or something like that. It's all good. I'm ready to release these guys. I click up here and I say, now there's a post grades button. And it'll be a orange dot by each grade that's currently hidden. And also see when I enter in my grades, there'll be a little /I here indicating that I have hidden grades. So over here, here's the assignment. Here's how many grades are hidden. And I have the option if I want to post it to everyone or just grade it. I would just do it to everyone and say post. Once I do that, the grades is now released to students. They'll get a notification that the grades are ready and that little I disappears. Okay. All right. So that's the easiest way to do it. Notice it's still manual. So any grades I put in future, I'm going to be hidden by default, but I'll need to post any grades. But I've already done all my grade posting, so I'm all good to go. Okay. There's another option here that's a little bit confusing. Look at this assignment here. And there's something called hide grades. Very similar to manual grades, but different. So hide grades here is if you already have entered grades and you want to hide those. Okay, that's the best way to think of it. Hide grades that are already there. Okay. So notice I have a grade here. Whoops, I want to hide that. I say hide grades and I say hide. Now I get this icon here indicating that grades are hidden. Okay, this grade is hidden. If ever I want to see what's hidden, I go back here and say post grades, and it shows me a red dot about what grade is hidden. Okay. So this is just indicating this grade is hidden. It doesn't say anything about grades I'm going to put in after this because the post policy is still automatic. I haven't changed that. So if I put in grades here, these grades are not hidden. And the only way I can tell they're not hidden if I go to post grades. Okay. So it is a little confusing and complicated. The best way to manage all this is what I tell people is before you start your grading, if you want to use manual and high grades, go ahead and put it to manual, put in your grades, post to grades, and that's it. Okay. It can get kind of hairy and kind of complicated using these other features here. They've kind of extended this feature because there are some institutions that really needed this functionality, but in the case with so many things, if you enter in more functionality in ways to do stuff, it gets more complicated. So a lot of people don't need all that functionality, so it is kind of cumbersome. But again, I have a document on the Teach site, references, shows you how to do all this stuff in kind of plain English. Okay. All right. Are there any questions specifically on that?
No, Greg, no questions at the moment, but you will go over grade weighting at some point.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Okay. So yes, if we go back here, I'm gonna go back to my home page. And suppose in my, my syllabus, I have specific grade weighting in the terms that maybe my homework is going to be worth 10% of my final grade, and my term papers are going to be worth 40%, and everything else is going to be worth 50% for a total of 100% of my final grade. How do I replicate that in my Canvas gradebook? So the way you're going to do that is with Canvas assignment groups. Okay. As we see here, we do have one assignment group already called assignments. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create more assignment groups. So I'm going to hit this plus group button. And I'm going to create an assignment group for my homework. Save. And another one for my exams. And over here, I have one already called assignments. I'm going to go ahead and tweak that by clicking these settings icons over here. I'm going to say edit. And this is going to be papers. So I have assignment group papers, homework, exams. If I want to change the order of these, how these appear in the gradebook, I can go ahead and move these around. But, okay. So I have 3 assignment groups. If I go back into my gradebook, so instead of just seeing that assignments group, I now have papers, homework, and exams. And these are assignment groups. So what it's doing here, it's actually totaling up the student score within, just within that, the assignments that are in that group. So currently these two assignments are in the group, so I see that total there. So Natalie Baker has 97 out of 110, consisting of these two assignments. If I put assignments in homework group, it'll break down the score there as well as exams. But the total is still the total here, still totaling all the points. Okay. So right now, these assignment groups are weighted equally. I'm going to go back and apply assignment or weighting to each one of those assignment groups. So I'll go to assignments, and I'm going to click on the assignment settings area here and click weight grade based on assignment groups, and click on papers, homework, and exams, and say my papers are going to be worth 50% of the final grade. Homework is going to be worth 10%. Exams are going to be worth 40%, for a total of 100%. Save. Okay. Now I can move these guys around if I want. I can actually create new assignments and put them in these groups. So I can do this directly from the assignment group if I want to. There's a plus sign here. So I'm going to make it a another assignment here where I'm just going to put in the details. I mean, the overall parameters like the date, the point value, and say save and publish. I can always go back and put in right in the details of the assignment, but here I'm just actually doing the very top level, creating like a placeholder. I could also go here to more assignments as well. If I did that, it would take me back into the assignment. I can put in the details of the assignment. If I wanted to do this the same thing from the assignment menu, here's where I would specify the assignment group. So I say save and publish. I'll go back to my assignment area. And there's my assignment there. Do the same process. I could even duplicate these assignments if I want. So if I click over here, say duplicate, I can make a copy of that and go back and clean it up later. Okay. So I can have one assignment in these assignment groups. I can have two assignments. I can have 3, 4, 5, 100. Doesn't matter. There'll always be 40% of the final grade, 10% of the final grade, 50% of the final grade. Okay. I can make these point values whatever I want. If I want each one of these homework or these assignments to contribute the same amount to the final grade, I make them the same point value. Or if I want to change these and maybe make this one 100 points, I can go ahead and do that. But again, there'll always be 10%, 50%, 40% of the final grade. So if I go back to the grade book here, I'll see over here, now there's something for homework. Okay. And now these guys here, it's going to give me a percentage. It's not going to give me a point value because a point value is not going to be intuitive, but what it is weighting these, doing a calculation to weight these assignment groups accordingly and give a total percentage grade here. I can always go into the assignment itself and kind of roll over these guys here and see the cumulative point value within those assignment groups if I need to. Okay. All right. So this is how the weighted assignment group works. I notice too in assignment groups, in the settings area here, edit, I can actually drop the lowest score if I want. So if you have maybe 10 homework assignments and your syllabus says I'm going to drop the lowest score of that, I can drop the lowest score. And from my understanding, it always drops the lowest score. That gives the student the best benefit. So it'll look at all the assignments, the appropriate point values, and drop the one that's going to make the grade the highest. They're not going to be penalized by that process, if that makes sense. Okay. Right. So a couple other things to note for the gradebook itself. If I click on the actual student name here, this little tray will come out. Let's try to click on somebody else. Okay, well, let's wait on that one there. Let's go over here to I'm going to click on this column here. And when I do, there's a little arrow here. This is called the grade detail tray, where I can actually see some details of the student here. Graded assignments, any missing assignments. There's a grade area here, which takes me to a view of approximate view of their grade book. And you'll see it here, the grades for just this particular student in the assignments, and a total down here. Okay. So over here, you'll notice something, this little icon here. This is called a whisker graph and a grade distribution graph. So students can actually see this grade distribution graph. They'll see the mean, the low, the high, along with their score. So just as an FYI, this is actually enabled by default. So if you don't want this to show for your class, for any assignments, you can go ahead and disable this. So there's a couple of, this is a setting here that you can disable, as well as a couple other. Those are going to be in the course settings menu. If I go to settings, and I click on course details, I'll see some details of my course. I'm going to scroll all the way down here to the bottom under more options. And I'm going to say hide grade distribution graph from students and say update course details. Now when I go to my student view, normally those would show up here for the student, but now there's going to be hidden here. And it's kind of hard to see because I hid them already, but you can see the student will not see those at all. Okay. Another setting to be aware of is you can actually hide the total column from students. So hide totals and grade summary. So if in this, just for the short while, you don't want students to be fixated on the total grade for the course or the running total, maybe you just want to collect student work through assignments, and that's how you're going to use everything. You can actually hide this total and grade summary by clicking that hide totals and grade summary option. Hit save or update course details. If I go back to my student here, notice here it shows him a breakdown of his total here and a breakdown of the assignment groups. Once that's enabled, the student sees these kind of hidden icons here. Instructor is working on grades and only see the grades for each assignment. So that may or may not be useful for you. Okay. All right. So that is kind of the main points for the Canvas gradebook and assignments. Of course, there's more stuff you can do, but I think those are probably the basics to kind of get you started and to have a gradebook that's kind of up and running and functional and useful for your students. The next thing I want to talk about is about 13 minutes we have left is going to be Canvas discussions or discussion forums. So you would use discussions just to create online discussion boards for your students to interact with and for you to give feedback on, and have students reply to each other's replies, and a great way to kind of extend the in-class learning to or in-class discussion that would normally happen in person online. Okay. So if I go over here and click on discussions, you'll see here I have a couple of discussions already created. Here's what a discussion might look like. So here's the actual prompt, reading prompt. And down here, these are responses from students. Okay. See, you can actually insert images in here if you want, and videos or whatever rich content you want. Students can reply. Students can reply to each other. So in this case here, Annie Byrne made a comment to the reply to the general discussion, and Bill Blinn here made a reply to her reply. Okay. So let me show you how to set this up. If I go back to discussions and I click on add discussion, I'll give it a discussion title. And I want to make sure I click on allow threaded replies. And if I want to make this a graded discussion, I can go ahead and do that. I'll go back and do that a little bit later. I'll show you how that looks. I can say users must post before seeing replies. So this will be if you want your students to make their reply to the main topic first before they can see anybody else's. So this kind of enables and encourages original thought. Okay. So once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and hit save and publish. And here's my discussion topic here. And right now my students can reply to it. So if I go back into my Yogi Bear, and here's the discussion topic here. I hit reply. Post reply. Okay. If I was a student or something and I wanted to reply to that reply, I would hit reply here. And that would be the reply to that reply, or I could reply to the general topic. Post reply. Okay. So the good thing about discussions too is I can actually make this a graded discussion where I give feedback on students' replies and replies to the topic and replies to each other. So in this class 1 example, where I have some replies, I'm going to go ahead and hit edit here. And I'm going to say this is a graded discussion. I'll give it a point. And I'll go ahead and say save. So once I do that, if I click in the settings area here, I'll have a speed grader option. And what this does, it just shows me the replies of a particular student that replies either to the main topic or to another reply. So Bill Blinn here, I can look at this and say, hey, it looks like he's given pretty good responses. I'm gonna give him a grade. And that goes into the grade book. There's also a link here to view the full discussion. And I can see everything in context. Okay. So that's how that works, those discussion topics. So those are going to be listed here under discussions. You'll see some other options here. Pin discussions, or if you have a discussion that's you want to always appear prominent in the discussion list, you can drag it up here to pins. It'll always show up here. As you create more discussions, they'll be created down here, but this one will always appear here. So this could be like an FAQ discussion board where general questions are asked about the course. Or maybe you have a discussion board where you have students introduce themselves. So it's always going to be at the top here. Whereas discussions, as you create them, will go down here in the general discussion area and appear in reverse chronological order with the newest at the top. Okay. If you want to unpin it, you just go here and select unpin, and it's dropped down to the general area here. Okay. All right. So that is about all I had.